everything set up on my end. So I did it. We did it. This is the fourth and final Taffy Press virtual launch party. You think we would have it figured out by now, but hey, that's okay. We got it. We're here. So as I said, this is our final installment of the Taffy Press virtual book launch party. And as I said before, in the past 3 that we've done, we're doing them this way as a virtual, of course, Zoom meeting with our, this time, 2 editors of our publication, because we can't have our events in person right now. So we're just kind of trying to connect with you guys in a way that so you can learn a little bit more about the editors as well as the new press releases, and if you'd be interested in learning more about them. So as always, I'm your host, Kristen Whitman, the Taffy Web Content Manager, and I'm very happy to be joined today by Dr. Martin Hubbe and Scott Rosencrance, the editors of Make Paper Products Stand Out, which is now available from Taffy Press. So thanks for joining me today, gentlemen. So
thank you.
I know sometimes it can be a little funny and a little weird to hear your intro, but I'm going to have to kind of introduce you 2 guys before we get started, and then hopefully I'll do a little less talking and let you do some answering so people can learn more about the book. So, but before we get started, I'd like to thank you to our virtual audience who are joining us today on Facebook Live. We know everybody's busy, and we appreciate you taking time to join us. We'll be giving away a free ebook of Make Paper Products Stand Out at the end of this session. So please like, share, and leave comments on this post so we can include you in that drawing. And as always, of course, if you want to post a comment that you might have a question for Martin or Scott, please do that, and hopefully we'll be able to answer it at the end. So without further ado, I'll introduce the 2 guys I have sitting here with me. So I have Dr. Hubbe here. He is a professor and Buckman Distinguished Scientist at North Carolina State University, where he teaches and conducts research related to the chemistry of cellulose material, with a particular focus on paper making wet in chemistry. Martin has conducted research related to paper strength, electrokinetic test, and dewatering. He has also chaired Taffy's Introduction to Wet in Chemistry course and conducted university courses for on-campus students and distance education. So also with us, we have Dr. Scott Rosencrance. He is a senior manager with Chimera, currently heading up their marketing and technical applications organization for defoamers and pulping in the Americas. Scott has served as an adjunct assistant professor for the University of Minnesota's Department of Bioscience Engineering. He has been a member of the Chemistry Advisory Board for Fairmont State University and served on Kennesaw State University's Biochemistry and Chemistry Advisory Board. He is an author of more than 75 patents and publications in a variety of international journals about physical chemistry and surfaces, in large part related to pulp and paper. So it seems like you guys got a long list of accolades. So it's so glad to be joined by both you, Martin and Scott. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about the publication and the process to getting it out there.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, so as I said, I would be doing a little bit too much talking at the beginning, but I'm going to leave it up to the experts now. So kind of my first question for the 2 of you about this publication is just really for you to tell us about the Make Paper Products Stand Out book and what it's about, kind of in a short elevator speech, if you will.
Yeah, so Kristen, let me first, say the last part of the title. The first part of the title is Make Paper Stand Out, Make Paper Products Stand Out, but it has a subtitle, Strategic Use of Wet End Chemical Additives. So to describe the book, maybe it's best to talk about what it's not. It's not a collection of chapters. This is kind of a, resulting from some planning that Scott and I did at the start of it. We gave the authors some guidance to try to make a book that kind of holds together and tells a story. The goal is really, as the subtitle says, how to use the chemical additives in a strategic way to make your products stand out. Now, stand out, of course, can mean different things. It can mean to do more or better and more reliably meet the needs of your customers.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Okay, so there's a little bit of a subtitle there that helps explain a little bit more about the book. So my next question, I guess, would be to you, Scott. I read in the preface that the idea for this book came about in the Additives Committee of the Paper and Board Division of Taffy. Can you kind of tell us about that, how that all started?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks to everybody listening today and all of our Tappy friends and those that are taking time out of their busy schedules. Marty and I sort of started this, as he said, a few years ago, and it really is based on a lot of expert input from all around the country and the world. Tappy is very fortunate to have a large number of highly experienced, very talented people in a lot of disciplines in various areas of our industry. And so Marty and I, with a number of relationships and acquaintances, approached those people and asked them to help participate and join this effort. And most of them were very timely and very helpful and very eager to do that. And it turned out to be a great product. Yes, this was in some ways related to the additives committee of the paper making committee. But at the end of the day, the paper and board division envisions and wants these things to happen for our members. And the additives committee was a key element in helping that happen. But at the end of the day, lots of people, we drew on courses and webinars and books, as I said, and a number of relationships to pull this together. And it's an excellent compilation from a diverse group of authors that really share their unique perspective on this subject.
Yes, it sounds like you guys didn't have too hard of a time kind of getting a group together to get this thing going. So that's always a plus. So with that being said, kind of who would benefit from having this book on their desk? In particular, would this book be helpful to maybe some of young professionals and students kind of just joining the industry or getting ready to graduate maybe in the future?
Yeah, Kristen, I think that we would agree with you. We have in mind, especially people that have, new responsibilities or changed responsibilities, and especially people involved with the papermaking area. And this can include a lot of people. It can include the engineers, first of all, who are working on the production or the development. And it's not just in the paper mill. It can be your product development scientists in the supplier companies. And it also can include people like graduate students. It can include managers who have responsibility, a broader responsibility, looking for opportunities. And then there's another group, probably not the first one we thought of, is experienced people who are looking to make improvements. It's always good to be considering, what can I do to make the system, work better for our customers.
Yeah, so it also sounds like there's a wide range of folks that this kind of having this book would benefit. So there were 17 contributors to this overall book, right?
Yes, there were a large number of contributors from, as I said, all around the world, some from industry, some from governmental organizations, many of them from academia. We had the esteemed privilege of having authors from, for instance, North Carolina State University, Miami of Ohio, BTT, which is a premier Finnish research institute, and again, lots of companies. You mentioned 17 or more contributors, so a diverse group.
Yeah, and I can chime in here and mention specifically that we got a lot of input from Solenis, from Buckman Laboratories, from Chimera, of course. It's not only Scott, but a number of other ones. So we had a cross section, not the same ones we had exactly as in the last book, but a broad distribution of contributors from some of the companies that are big supporters of Tappy and its efforts.
I might need you guys help getting groups together to do a easy small task. You guys get 17 contributors and plus multiple companies on one book. So that sounds awesome. So, I mean, with all that being said, what would you say the number one reason is why people should, purchase this book, or what would they get out of it, would you say?
Well, the structure of the book, the format, and the substance itself, we really did try hard with our various authors to distill this down into a format that was easily readable, readily accessible, understandable, and practical. And that really was a key as we went through this process of trying to figure out which content to emphasize, to touch on, and sometimes not to touch on. In some cases, this really meant that we focused on differentiation, meaning what is really different, what can make you different, what can enhance your competitive advantage. In other cases, it was more about, as Marty said earlier, reliable performance and meeting customer demands day in and day out, routinely in a very dependable way. So depending on the customer, there's some different ways to look at the information, but the information itself lends itself to a diverse group of people with different interests. Some of the topics that we covered, colorants was covered here in great detail, dry strength agents, sizing agents, how to make paper bulky or formable, printing characteristics of paper, absorbency of paper, even changing the tactile properties of paper. And one chapter that I found particularly interesting that Marty pioneered and helped lead the authorship on was security papers. And if you think about that, that's a very specialized use of paper with a lot of unique characteristics that Marty touched on and highlighted to our readers. So a really good compilation of diverse information.
Yeah, that sounds. I had a diverse group putting it together, and a lot of information in there, not just for one or two types of folks. Sounds like overall great publication. But when it comes to additives, subtle changes can greatly affect the end result. So how can paper companies make paper products stand out to maybe compete against other industries?
Well, I think on that, from our perspective, the key is to remain competitive. A lot of times, when we're making paper, we think of other paper companies as our competitors. But I think that I'd like to encourage people to always think a little bit broader, because if paper makers can be even more effective in doing our job and more flexible and more savvy in how we make paper, ultimately we're competing against some other industries. They'd love to take our markets, and we'd love to take some of their markets. This includes, plastics manufacturers. Sometimes we do that ourselves. So, sometimes we're our own competitors, which is fine. There's various kinds of communication media. If we do our job, we can take market share away from some communication media that's taken away from us. There's metals, there's glass. But the thing to remember is that our medium, paper, is very adaptable. With just a little bit of a change of some knobs, we can change the characteristics of it. So we have a way that we can compete that some of the others do not have to this extent. And it sometimes involves, chemicals addition to the process, and sometimes it's how you use those chemicals, how you apply them.
I always learn so much every time I do these kind of interview type things. So in today's market, we're all trying to leverage the most out of our resources, equipment, and personnel. So should we apply the same mindset to additives?
Yeah. Let me talk about the leveraging. What I'm thinking here in terms of leveraging is that the companies have made a huge investment. You think about the capital expense of building the kind of equipment we use in our industry. But that's not all. The company has spent a lot of time in recruiting people. So it's the people who they're also leveraging. And companies need to capitalize on what they have spent. Just by making some fine tuning, you can change and you can really get a better outcome from what you've invested in. So just like, the security papers and money, which we can use as kind of a logo for the paper, is bringing value. And so we want to really capitalize on the investment we've made in order to bring value to the customer.
So you two work together on advances in papermaking wet end chemistry application technologies. Is there another collaboration in the works maybe, or?
Well, there may be. Marty and I, this is the second volume that we've put together that's now coming out for launch. A few years ago, we put together a volume of work that focused on the applications and unique scenarios of applying a variety of chemicals in papermaking. This volume is more about functional attributes of paper and the additives and what they can impart. We're thinking about a potential third volume. It'll be a few years away because this is a very complicated, time-consuming process. But the third volume is going to focus more on process additives as opposed to functional additives. So things like possibly defoamers or deposit control. A number of other chapters we're contemplating. We're just in the formulation stage. we're beginning to think about contacting our co-participants and leveraging their expertise and support for this effort. So stay tuned. We'll see how the timing goes and the content goes, but yes, we're thinking about it.
Well, that's awesome. That's good news. It looks like we're going ahead and pre-scheduling another one of these, but I think this has been really awesome to kind of learn more about this particular publication and how it started and how you guys put it together and kind of who it'll benefit from reading it. So now we're just going to move over to, I'm going to check on our Facebook Live here and see if we have any comments, because we do have some time left over to kind of see if anybody asks any questions for you guys. If you'd be okay with that. So let me look here. So I'm looking on my end, and hey, we're 4 for 4. I think we've done awesome because nobody has any questions or comments or concerns. It looks like they're just saying things like, well done, and thanks for putting this book together and that sort of stuff. So we'll take that as another win for us. But what I did want to do is remind you guys from kind of what I said at the beginning. Now that we've learned more about the publication and gotten to meet and chat with the editors, it's time for this time I'll pick a winner for the free ebook. But what I'll do is I'm going to add everyone who liked, shared, or commented this Facebook Live into a randomizer to pick the winner. And then after I do that, once we kind of end this, I will post the winner's name in the comments. And then, whoever that winner is, just look for a message from me to make arrangements to get you that ebook. But if you don't win, I do want to share my screen really quick if I can do that, because we do have some awesome stuff going on with this book as well at this time. So we have a bonus, which is a promo code. You can use the promo code PARTY25 to save 25% on your purchase of Make Paper Products Stand Out. And you can see this URL here, tappy.org/standout is an easy way to find that if you would like to do so. But also, this is our final, as of now, this is our final virtual press book launch party, and we did it with Marty and Scott here, and we appreciate their time. So is there anything that you guys kind of want to add before we sign off?
Well, I just wanted to, put in a note of thanks for all of the authors of the chapter. A lot of these people have, full-time jobs, as does Scott. I speak as a professor. I've got a lot of time flexibility. I don't have clients all the time. And it's the same with many of our authors. Some of them are graduate students. They're very hardworking too. So we really appreciate the time. As Scott had said before, we appreciate the time people have put in to this.
Yeah, I echo that, Marty. And it's been great working with these people and Marty along the way, and very enjoyable and enlightening and well worth every second of the time that we put into it. So to all of our Tappy friends and those listening, check the book out, and we look forward to seeing you out there sometime. Thanks.
Sounds so awesome. Thank you guys for wrapping it up so nicely for me. And again, you can just find out more about the book at tappy.org/standout. And I wanted to let you know that this is our last book launch party for July. So we hope you've enjoyed the format. Visit tappy.org/party to view any other previous sessions. And thanks so much. See you next time, I guess. Thanks. Bye, everyone.